Yesterday we talked a lot about numbers, so today we're going to chill out a little bit and discuss what I think is the best category to get started selling on Amazon, because this question comes all the time. Honestly, a lot of people have opinions on this, and so we're going to look at one of those as well from Warner over at Fields of Profit, who I like a lot of his content. If you're into online arbitrage, he's got some good stuff, but I don't quite agree with what he thinks is the best. And I'll show you the data based on my Amazon account as to why I don't agree, as well as just some personal reasons. Because when you're getting started on Amazon, you're going to have a lot of potential problems, mostly with gating, as well as just spending a lot of time learning the correct products to sell. If you don't know what gating is, basically you're not allowed to sell anything you want to on Amazon for two main reasons. One, a brand might not want you to sell, and no matter how much you sell, you might not be able to sell it unless you get an invoice from becoming an actual distributor of their product. And two, Amazon doesn't trust you yet, and so they don't want to ruin their reputation with big brands by having people come on who are very new, which might mean they're counterfeit, and sell on those listings. And so it might be hard for you when you're getting started to actually sell like name brand stuff. Like I still can't sell Nike and Adidas, even though I'm looking into actually getting invoices so that I can start to sell those. And so starting out, the main things that you're gonna have to worry about are being able to sell a product and then finding actual profitable products in that category. So let's see what he's got to say over on Instagram about the 3 products that he thinks are the best to start selling. And I'll give you reasons why I disagree with each of them, even though this might be perfectly valid for some people. All right, the best 3 products to sell on Instagram, according to him, the first one is going to be not a hand, but books. Easy to source, thrift stores, etc. High return on investment. Here's the thing with that. I don't necessarily think that's untrue. Personally, that's the first thing that I purchased when I started selling on Amazon. I basically pulled an all-nighter watching videos on selling on Amazon, and the next day on my lunch break at work, there was a Goodwill close by, so I went into their book section with the free trial of Scout IQ to see if I could find anything. Since I was super new, I was still learning the program and learning how to set the correct rules for it, so I actually walked out of there with nothing, but I came back after work and bought a couple of books. But I think because I was so eager, I bought stuff that was never going to sell. That's one of the things that starting out can be really hard about books, is you're normally not going to be selling new books. You're going to be selling them in used, like new, used average, used good, and you have to get the condition right, and then you have to reprice them correctly. There'll be a lot of people on those listings. That's not to discourage you from books, but those are some of the reasons that after that first shipment, I stopped sending in books, and I think I only sold like 10 books, and I don't even think I sold them profitably. Let me check on Inventory Lab real quick, because you can look based on category, and that's how I'll actually show you what the most profitable category is for me. We can see, I'm pretty sure I lost money overall on my books. All right, so we're gonna go to all-time search, and here is the book category. We can see I sold a total of 39 units. 4 of them were refunded. I didn't ship any out myself. My total revenue was $300, which is a very small percentage. I lost a total of $3, which means I lost 6%. And honestly, this is probably a bit of an anomaly, because I think most people who sell books or continue to sell books will end up making money on it. But one of the other reasons I didn't like it is I just did not enjoy sourcing books at all. First off, it didn't have a scanner, and you will need a Bluetooth scanner if you want to source books well. But personally, I don't like sourcing used things. I don't personally see a lot of value in a lot of the books that I was looking at, and personally I feel like it's more of a treasure hunt to find deals on new things than it is on like used books, and that probably is the main thing that contributed to the fact that I lost money on my $300 of revenue from books. But it could be good for you. Let's see what the second one is for him. All right, so the second one is grocery, because people will buy it over and over and you get consistent profit. Honestly, I find that really interesting, because I think there are 2 different business models that he's talking about there. For books, it's basically all going to be retail arbitrage, maybe thrift store arbitrage, because you're not going to do a lot of online book wholesaling or book thrifting. For grocery, to sell something over and over again, you either have to find replenishables, which I've talked about in previous videos, or find it with online arbitrage that you can buy over and over again, because it is true that you can make a consistent profit with it. And I personally don't sell a lot of grocery, only the stuff that I find on clearance. Right now, I'm looking into getting into more of it potentially. And people do buy it over and over again. But there's 2 problems with, as a beginner, getting into grocery. The first problem you're going to run into is what we talked about at the beginning of this video, which is gating. You're probably not going to be able to sell grocery when you're starting out, because that's something that goes into someone's body, and Amazon doesn't trust you to sell that yet. It took me about 8 months selling on Amazon to get approved to sell in grocery without doing any invoices. And you can just get invoices from a manufacturer if you want to get ungated in that. And there are companies like Frontier Co-op or other distributors who you can get that through, but that's going to be your first problem. The second problem is consistent with pretty much anything you're going to want to sell as a beginner, and that's that you're going to have to spend a lot of time learning that category. It's a very saturated category on Amazon. There are a lot of sellers from online arbitrage and from retail arbitrage who do grocery stuff, so you're gonna have to scan tons and tons of items, and it's gonna be a little bit harder to actually scan through those items. Personally, I use a scanner and then Scoutify 2 and Scout IQ as my apps to source. You could just use the Amazon seller app, and that's probably what you'll have to do with grocery. Based on the replenishable video that I did, a lot of people commented that it's actually best to just search through the camera, because it'll find stuff that won't pull up when you pull up the UPC, and that might be the way that you look through these grocery products, but that will take a lot of time, and personally, I'm not that interested in selling grocery products, but we'll get to why that's really important toward the end. Let's see what the third thing he says is. The third category is beauty. You have good margins and fast sellers, and I found this to be the case with the beauty products that I sell, but it did take me a while to get ungated in that. You can use Frontier Co-op again to get ungated in beauty, and that shouldn't be too difficult. I don't even think you need an LLC or an S corporation to get ungated through them, but there are three things I want to talk about here. One of them also applies to grocery that I didn't even think about. The first being expiration dates. When you're worried about beauty stuff, when you're worried about groceries, you're going to have to make sure that it's within the expiration date timeline. Normally that means you have to have it 90 days from when it gets to the fulfillment center until it expires, but if it has a daily allowance, like a multivitamin that has... Where did the multivitamin go? Yeah, so if it's something like this doesn't have a daily allowance, but if it was a daily allowance kind of thing and there was 1,000 tablets, you need to make sure that it expires 1,000 plus 90 days for when it gets to the fulfillment center. That's not really something you're going to have to worry about 1,000 days, but I have had like 180-day men, one-a-day kind of stuff that I've had to worry about being at least 9 months out rather than 3 months. That will also apply to grocery items. The second problem is also going to be gating. You're going to have a couple different categories, topicals and beauty, that you'll have to worry about. They are very fast sellers and you do have good profit margins, especially if you do a retail arbitrage like buying from Ross's, TJ Maxx, or even clearance from Walmart. And I have really enjoyed selling them over the past little bit, but they're a little bit of a pain in the butt because of the third thing, which is the potential for IP claims or just being restricted, not even just gated. If you've watched through some of my recent retail arbitrage sourcing vlogs, you'll have seen that there are some beauty things that I couldn't even apply to get ungated in because they were just restricted straight up. And that happens on specific brands, but I've also heard of a lot of beauty products giving out IP claims, and you can get softwares to try to detect that or kind of learn the telltale signs. But honestly, grocery and beauty aren't something that I ever worried about until I was like almost a year into selling on Amazon. And I still don't even like to do them that much. So let's get into what I would recommend beyond books, grocery, and beauty. And I actually have two suggestions, but the second one is just based off of the first. And that is what you enjoy. If you like beauty stuff, then by all means start in beauty. If you like grocery stuff and sorting through that, then by all means start in grocery. If you like sorting through bunches and bunches of books at the thrift store, go ahead and do that. Because especially when you get started on Amazon, it's going to take a decent amount of time to find good products because there's a learning curve. Like everything that you're trying to start, especially when you're trying to make money with it. So many people will have tried, and the people who actually succeed are the ones who persevere. And so if you start by getting a category that you actually enjoy sourcing for, personally, like something that you like to buy, it'll help you to keep a lot more momentum than just going to something that someone recommends because they think it's a good category, because you'll be able to find profit in any category on Amazon. It's out there for you to find. And so that leads me to my second recommendation, and we'll take a look at Inventory Lab just to show you what my most and least profitable categories are. And so my second recommendation is sports and outdoors. Personally, this is for a couple reasons. If you watched a few videos back, I talked about first getting started on Amazon and walking into the clearance section at Walmart. This is actually my replenishment video, and actually just wanting to buy some fishing stuff for myself. So I walked over there, saw cheap prices, and started scanning it and realized, hey, because I like fishing stuff, I could just scan through a bunch of fishing stuff and find profit on Amazon. And so I started going to retail stores that specialized in fishing and hunting and outdoor stuff and selling mostly that. And a lot of that was because it wasn't something I was gated in initially. And I personally didn't send in any invoices from suppliers to try to get ungated in anything I never even have yet. And because it's something that I enjoy, I didn't mind scanning through all of it because I just enjoyed picking it up, looking at it on a personal basis. So let's go into Inventory Lab, and I'm just going to sort by the most profitable all-time category and just show you the crazy margin that sports and outdoor has for me versus other things. Just look at this. The number one most profit, $18,658, is from sports and outdoors. 7,806 units sold compared to the next highest being 368. So because I enjoy it, I've sold 20 times more sports and outdoors than consumer electronics, the next highest one. That's insane to me. And that's just because that's where I spend the most of my time sourcing, and was able to leave my job just with that one category because it was something that I enjoyed doing. And I'm sure in any of these categories, if you find the right stores and you scan through enough, you'll be able to do the same thing. But it does take a lot of time. This isn't a quick or easy way to get rich. You probably aren't even gonna get rich. I'm not rich. And because I've learned so much about it and enjoyed it, my ROI is so high, 82%, whereas with consumer electronics, it's only 37%, but it's not my highest return on investment. Let's look at what those are. This 119 and 125 are from lawn and patio and home. And a lot of that stuff is just because it was on super deep clearance at Walmart. So just like I've said a lot pretty recently, if you're looking to get started on Amazon, just source what you like because you'll have the momentum to keep going. And I've been able to just keep finding that same type of stuff that I haven't had to branch really into other categories. I didn't even realize it was that much more profitable for me than all these other categories. 63% of my revenue. So instead of going shopping for yourself, act like you're going shopping for yourself and just source all of that stuff that you would normally be looking at for yourself. And since you enjoy it, you'll probably find some profit. See you tomorrow.